I am the women's business.
Sorry, forgot to hit record. Go ahead.
I am Nicole from Assets. I'm the Women's Business Center Manager. And we're located over here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It would be great if everyone else could type in the chat where you're located, because that would be great. And I also have here Denzel, Oscar, and Chelsea. So if you guys could introduce yourselves. Oscar is a CDFI, and you'll hear more about what he does as well. But he's here with me, so he's going to introduce himself as well.
My name is Oscar. I'm a senior community lender at Community First Fund here in Lancaster as well.
Hi, my name is Denzel. I'm the director of community lending here with Assets.
And
Great.
I'm Chelsea. I have my entrepreneur hat on today, but I'm also representing at Assets. I'm the community engagement coordinator at Assets.
Woo! All right, so I'm just going to dive in and give a brief introduction about what we do here at Assets as far as like the Women's Business Center, and then we can go from there. So here's a little blurb about me. And I can read off the screen, right? Passionate is the word that I would use to describe what I do as a Women's Business Center Manager at Assets. I'm passionate about seeing communities transformed by the powerful hand of women in the BIPOC community. I come from a long line of women who went against the odds and became leaders and entrepreneurs. My grandmom was the first to start making her own clothes and selling them while participating in fashion shows. I have continued the legacy, but took my business to Africa by starting a transportation business and a nonprofit over in Mozambique, Africa. My husband and I have 4 wonderful children here in Lancaster, PA. I hold a graduate degree in business management and executive leadership, and I love that I am positioned at Assets to impact lives and be a part of the changing the face of the economy. Next, please. So our vision here at Assets is to see our communities in Lancaster and Central Pennsylvania transform by increasing business ownership among women and people of color, increasing the number of social enterprises, which I hope that you gain some knowledge about what that is today, and seeking to address social and or environmental challenges through their business models. Next. The people we seek to solve, the problem we seek to solve, people, is that 51% of the women in this county are people of color who do not own businesses. There's an increased need for women ownership, and then there's a very much so an increased need for people of color. So as you can see by this slide here, that there is definitely a lower percentage of people of color who own businesses, and there's a higher percentage of people who are not part of the BIPOC community who own businesses. So we want to be a part of changing that. Next slide, please. So like I was saying, 51% of the Lancaster County population, but only represent 33% of its total form. Sorry, guys, I'm getting tongue-tied. I should have bought water up here. But 33% of its total firms. To reach 51% of women's businesses ownership by women, we would need to add an additional 7,636. All right, I went through a lot of this in the last slide, so I'm not going to go in depth about it. So if we could go to the next slide. At Assets, we focus on businesses to transform a more ethical economy. And that's through entrepreneurship, community lending, which you'll learn about today, and then impact consulting. The impact consulting leg is not something that you'll learn about today, but I wanted to give you a brief overview about what that means. Impact consulting is about owning a business that's focused on social responsibility or the social enterprise or B Corp. And what that means is you're hiring people and you're thinking about the wages that you're paying them. Or if you are starting a coffee business or something like that, you're thinking about the product that you're bringing in. So you're being intentional about the product, about the service, about all the parts that go into your company and making sure that they're ethical. So we believe that inclusive entrepreneurship plus ethical business equals transformed communities. At Assets, right here, you'll see that there's been 336 businesses launched, 288 companies measuring their impact, female entrepreneurs supported more than 2,000, and then 175 business expanding loans distributed. Next, please. So the entrepreneur training team offers inclusive access to the tools and resources needed in the startup and growth phases of your business. Assets is proud to partner with U.S. Small Business Admin, the SBA, to host Lancaster's Women's Business Center at Assets. The WBC houses all the entrepreneurship training. Thank you, Denzel. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We empower business owners to elevate their brand and build a more sustainable business model while providing a collaborative environment in which to network with like-minded individuals. And typically how we do this is through different entrepreneur trainings that we have, such as the idea incubators, the business accelerators, and seminars and boot camps. Some of the seminars that we house here are anything from how to, what do you need to start with a brick and mortar, to boot camps such as finance boot camp or marketing boot camp. How do you remain emotionally healthy while you're starting your business? All of those different things are a part of how what we offer here at Assets and more. So I gave you some insight. I don't want to take too long. Go ahead and take it away, Elliot. You're muted.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I can resume sharing if you want to finish that. I was just a glitch on my computer's part.
No, that's okay. I think that's the last slide. It should be, right?
It goes into community lending, or since we're going to talk about that, I guess we can just wait for the CDFI.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Let me bring up my slides. Sorry. All right. And my overview of WBEC is going to be very quick. So, slideshow, resume share. All right, can everyone see my screen again?
Yes.
All right,
Yes,
cool.
we can.
All right, hi everyone. Thanks for your patience with me and my very limited tech savviness. I'm Elliot Gilkison. I am the program coordinator here at WBEC-East and our Women's Business Center. We were founded in 1995 as the Women's Business Development Center, funded by the US SBA, similarly to how the Women's Business Center at Assets is funded. And then when our current president came on, she actually blended these two operating sides of the house into one. So now our whole WBEC-East is funded by both the SBA and WBANC, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. We are an advocate and a resource for women entrepreneurs, such as yourselves, aspiring entrepreneurs, everyone from startup to the sunset stages. And we are also a third-party WBANC certifier of women-owned businesses. Our mission is to support economic self-sufficiency through entrepreneurship and to help women start and grow business. This is our Women's Business Center side of the house staff. This is our president, Liz Walsh, fearless leader. The the Women's Business Center Director, Joyce Kadeska. That's me, the program coordinator here. And then Melanie McLeod is our one-on-one business counselor. And she's also the facilitator of all of our core programming like Jumpstart, Fast Track, and our Finding Your Funding webinars. We offer different business development resources through workshops, online courses, and that one-on-one business counseling that Melanie affords, supporting each of these 4 stages. So the startup stage, stretch stage, sustain stage, and sunset stage. These are just a few of the examples of some of our programs and workshops, similar webinar structure to tonight's program. We also have online courses through Ed2Go, which are entirely self-paced and online. And then the other side of our house deals with Women Business Enterprise certification. I highly recommend, if you want to learn more about this certification and its process and how it can benefit you, sign up for one of our monthly How to Get Certified webinars. But just a quick overview.
Can I chime in?
Yeah.
Can I chime in 1 second? We also host one typically in March, the certification, and we partner with Philadelphia WBC as well. So if you want to be a part of that, we'll keep you in the loop for that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elliot.
Of course. Yeah. It's that women-owned emblem, certified to like the fair trade check mark that you would see on retail products, on storefront windows, a little decal, on websites, and it certifies through a rigorous process that you are at least 51% owned by a woman or women, that your company is run and controlled by the woman business owner. And it serves as a way to get your foot in the door of these supplier diversity programs. So if you're in that business to business kind of industry, you're selling your product or services to other businesses, other corporations, or even government agencies, having that woman-owned certification just opens up so many doors to meet different corporations and government agencies' supplier diversity initiatives that they have in-house. I'm going to breeze through some of this just to save on time and get into the rest of our programming for tonight. All right, so let me stop share. Okay, at this point, I will introduce our 2 entrepreneurs for our panel to kind of get things grooving and going. Tonight we have Dr. Sharday Rogers Gamble, who is the CEO of CR Clinical, and Chelsea Christmas, the founder and owner of At Her Core LLC, to kind of conversate amongst themselves about entrepreneurship, especially in the 21st century. All right, ladies, so could you start off maybe talking about what entrepreneurship means to you?
Sure. So what entrepreneurship truly means to me is owning your own business and taking a risk. So most of the time people think it's just a financial risk. You will learn it's more than a financial risk. It's a personal risk, emotional risk, but it's a risk with hoping that you will come out of it gaining some profit and be able to generate an income for yourself, for your employees, staff, and also for generational wealth as well.
Chelsea?
Yeah, so I, a former colleague of ours here at ASSETS once used this term when it came to entrepreneurship, and I stick by it until this day. But he said that entrepreneurship is an exercise of hope. And kind of to Dr. Sharday's point, I think that we're constantly exercising this hope and like leaving behind legacy for our families, thinking about, you're constantly thinking ahead when you're an entrepreneur. We're not just thinking in the moment, thinking 5-10 years ahead. So I think it's just a constant exercise of hope.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. All right, so what do you two find to be both the most rewarding and the most challenging about being an entrepreneur and having your own company and being the boss?
I'll let Chelsea go first.
Sure. I think for me, what I've learned is naturally as an entrepreneur, we're just pivoters, constantly pivoting when we don't even realize it. But I think it's also been one of the most challenging things because sometimes it's hard to know when to pivot. So I think just trusting myself when things are either going good or not, trusting myself enough to be aware enough to make that pivot. So that's been one of the challenges. I think one of the good things is building something that I feel really passionate about. So my business is actually called At Her Core Fitness, and I provide pop-up fitness classes for women centered around women of color. I do personal training, and then I also do an annual event called Fitness Together. So that all started with a dream that I had, like I was just thinking like this could be maybe something that I felt passionate about. This could be something I never thought of it as a business. And here I am 3 years later running a full-blown business. So it's been really cool and something that I've really loved about the journey and just being able to connect with other entrepreneurs. I've ended up landing a job at Assets where I can help support other entrepreneurs. So it's just kind of it's a cool journey.
Always a journey. Dr. Charday?
Well, for me, just to give you guys just a background of what I do, the name of my company is CR Clinical. We actually conduct clinical trials for pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies, and biotechs. I will be totally honest. This is a business and an actual company that I did not think I was going to create and start. I did have an idea to work in the lab. I didn't like it. So that same company that I was working for pulled me to another side of the department that was doing clinical trials. That intrigued me, which allowed me to participate as a clinical research associate to then start working for multiple companies. Prior to starting my own business as a clinical research associate, I learned that you can go independent. So I technically started my business just to be a contractor, independent contractor, if I'm going to be totally honest. However, I started working with different companies, especially small pharma companies and medical device companies that needed me to do more than just clinical research associate work. So it became a actual thing where I was able to grow very rapidly to become a contract research organization. So we actually provide full service at this point. At first, I was just doing the clinical research associate activities, and they did not just want me to do that, which was great. I think that was a total blessing from God, actually, that those additional companies came in and asked me to learn how to do those additional aspects of what clinical research start to finish is. So we actually provide that. So what was super rewarding is that you have major opportunities that can come your way out of nowhere. And what I mean by that is just having my certification. I have my certification with actually WBEC. We have a women's business certification, but we also have our WOSB. That's our women's small business certification. And I also have an MBE as well. A lot of my additional opportunities did come from being a part and having those additional certifications. My other rewarding thing is flexible time. I have flexibility, and lastly, working from home. So working from home means I can work anywhere in the world, which allows me not to be feeling like I have to be set in one particular area to complete the task at hand for my clients. In regards to challenges, though, I will say I am a person that works long hours. So sometimes I have to get pulled off the computer by the kids or by the husband to take a break. Another thing that's really, really challenging nowadays is finding good staff. I have sometimes a hard time finding good staff and retaining a staff as well. So those are my challenges, I will say.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. All right, so you both kind of touched on that pivoting mindset, or adjusting to growth opportunities. So how do you see entrepreneurship and business ownership evolving in the 21st century? And how have you had to personally evolve or adapt or pivot, like Chelsea said, to stay current in your field?
So I will say AI has been evolving in all industries. A lot of companies and a lot of industries believe that AI was not going to be participating in their industry. However, AI has taken over a lot of things. So I have learned that you have to be open to innovation. It's constantly evolving. I have participated in some courses to learn about AI, particularly for clinical trials and pharma. I actually participated in a conference last week and they talked about AI in a particular area for the conference as well, which I learned a lot more than I know about AI. So I really do feel like learning about different technology and AI is very, very important, specifically for my industry, because we are pulling away from everything being paper-based, brick and mortar. Everything is technically virtual and technology based. So one of the good things that I have been able to do for my particular company to pivot is I do utilize AI. The ways that we utilize AI, we have a company who does all our posting. So posting on LinkedIn, IG, Facebook, and they have created us our AI characters. So we have our little characters that talk about Sierra Clinical on a weekly basis and we'll be providing services. So that's where we at. That's just a little bit for AI because there's a lot more you can utilize. But right now, we've taken our little baby steps for AI. For technology, we have created some platforms, however, to minimize certain risks for clinical trials as well. So that has been a big rewarding opportunity that we can provide to our clients because a lot of our competition cannot provide those particular platforms as well. In regards to just talking about technology, it is definitely important to learn about new technology as a whole, because once you start dealing with technology, it will probably be good for this year, but there's better technology that's going to be available next year. So it's always an evolving door. I say definitely take courses and master classes as you can. Definitely additional continuing education helps as well with innovation for your business.
Yeah, thank you so much. Chelsea, go ahead.
So for my company, since I'm in the fitness industry, being up to date with social media has been a really big kind of helped me stay current with my business. I have not tapped into AI yet. I'm scared of it. Like I'm getting to the point where I'm like,
I think we
okay,
all kind of are scared of it.
But I think too, like we are living in a digital age. So staying current on like what's going on with technology and how to utilize those things. I agree with Dr. Charday with making sure that you're looking out for like workshops, any kind of workshops that are being offered when it comes to like social media management or any kind of like AI technology, things like that. But for me, I'm a millennial, so growing up in the social media age, I feel like I understand the social media and just like looking at like the analytics and like algorithms and like that, things like that have really helped me with growing my business. And with the fitness industry, it is ever evolving as well. We went from everyone went from Peloton working, we were shut down, everyone was getting their Peloton, and now people are wanting to get back out and go actually be at the gym and go to fitness classes. So thankfully, I went from offering my classes virtual to in person. So being able to have those options have really helped grow my business as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. How do I put this? How would you recommend people approach that flexibility that is needed for entrepreneurship, like on a personal level?
So on a personal level, I think that you have to be willing to be, I will say, octopus, perhaps. You have to be willing to have hands-on anything and everything at any time. And I know that's the scariest thing ever. I was totally afraid to start my business because when you work for somebody else, you have just some tasks. You get a list of tasks that you have to do. You don't have to worry about nobody else's work. You don't have to worry about anybody else's money. But when you become an entrepreneur, you have to learn the operational portion, the financial portion. You have to know the people's portion, the processes, procedures. The list goes on. And I know it's scary, you guys, but I'm just definitely will say if it's something that you really, really feel like you should do, it could be very rewarding at that.
Because it's your baby, right? You're like
Right.
watching this thing grow. Yeah.
Yes.
Chelsea, how about you? Any parting words of wisdom about the growth mindset of entrepreneurship?
Sure. I think with growth also comes with what also comes with that is getting out of your comfort zone. So for me, thinking about, and I think as a woman of color, something that the tension point has always been like, when do I share my business idea? And if I share it, is somebody going to take it? So that's always been, my tension point. And I think I've heard it now in my role at Assets as community engagement coordinator, when I meet with different entrepreneurs, they are saying the same thing. So I'm like, this is a thing. This is a real thing. But I think being able to get out of my comfort zone and find the supports that I need, networking, as exhausting as that is, it's so important to network. A lot of my clients that I've got have been just by simply networking. Word of mouth has been like one of my number one ways that I've gotten clients, surprisingly. But I think, being able to get out of your comfort zone, and elevator pitch, learn your business, learn how to explain your business
By
in
heart.
30 seconds.
That's
I
true.
should be able to know exactly what you do, what you're about in 30 seconds. You practice that thing. I mean, I know it like the back of my hand now. But it took some time. And I think it comes with getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then I think I would say the last thing, Elliot, is just patience. You're going to have a lot of patience. And that's for yourself and for everybody.
Yes,
that's
I
a
agree
really
with
good
that. Patience. Building a business isn't something that happens overnight. It happens with time. So someone's asking if they can hear my elevator pitch. Sure. Dang, don't put me on the spot. But what I would say is it takes time to build a business. So if you're thinking about starting a business, take your time with it. If you're not in a position to leave your job right now, don't make that decision right away. Take your time with that. Start with a side hustle and build your way up to being able to successfully set yourself up to be able to leave your full-time job. My elevator pitch. All right. So at Her Core Fitness, making fitness accessible to all women. And I do that by providing affordable pop-up fitness classes, personal training, and an annual event that I host called Fitness Together.
Nice.
Very nice. And I just wanted to piggyback off of Chelsea about the whole thing. Yes, you can start your business, but please do not quit your job if you're not ready to do so. It is totally okay to have another job that brings in the income while you start your business in general. Do not pull away until you feel that you're comfortably can afford to, and you're generating a good income to pull away, because those bills don't stop coming in.
Facts.
Yeah, like Chelsea said, that like setting yourself up for success, right? Like making sure you're slow enough with yourself, intentional enough to sustain your business project, right?
Yeah, there's one more thing I want to say, because this topic I could stay on for days. But setting yourself up for success, and also realizing, like, during the process of building a business, it's okay to give yourself permission to pivot, and also making sure that it works for your lifestyle. You may have the most amazing business idea and realize, like, oh, I got 5 kids at home. I got to take care of my family. Like, this doesn't work. So like being okay with also pivoting. So even if that means that from this business idea that you originally had, maybe something else comes from that.
Yeah. Anything to offer in light of that, Dr. Charday?
No, I totally agree because you will be too overwhelmed and you may quit too soon. So definitely figure out what your true niche is because it's all about niche nowadays.
Yes.
And just stick with the niche. I know some of us want to do everything, but I think what will make your business stand out is figuring out what your true niche is as well.
Yeah. Figuring out what you do and doing it the best in the industry. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for all of that advice, y'all. Someone did request that we get to hear Dr. Charday's elevator pitch for CR Clinical to put
Okay.
you also on
All
balance
right.
it out a little bit.
Yes, no problem. So Sierra Clinical is a contract research organization. We provide startup clinical operations, feasibility, and we also provide post-marketing to pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies, and also biotech companies.
Awesome. All right. I think I speak for everyone saying thank you so much for offering your words of wisdom through experience. And yeah, all right. Best of luck for all of your endeavors with CR Clinical and At Her Core Fitness LLC. All right. Now I am going to introduce Dr. Patricia Holmes Smith, CEO of Holmes Smith Consulting Services. She is wearing two hats today, right? So she's an entrepreneur, a woman entrepreneur. She has her own company, but what her company does makes her also a resource. So she's in this fun middle ground. She's going to share a story and then also kind of talk about her experiences being both an entrepreneur and a resource. Yeah, take it away, Dr. Pat.
All right, so I don't get questions, do I? I just have to jump right in. So I'll jump in by sharing my elevator speech or pitch, if you will. And so I am, as Elliot said, Dr. Pat Smith, and I am the CEO and founder of Holmes Smith Consulting Services. We specialize in college planning, career planning, and our newest product is employee development with the emphasis on retention and engagement. What a pitch, right? Okay. So I've been in business now for 12 years, right? And prior to that, I spent a lot of time honing into my craft, really, really learning my craft, right? Dr. Charday, having that niche, okay? Really being knowledgeable, really being skilled. And so I served as an academic dean at some point, an academic advisor, a director of career counseling. You see how I'm acquiring these skills and this knowledge. And one day I decided, they need me to start up a business to provide individualized and customized services to help individuals to meet their academic and career goals. And that is how I got started. Okay, so I want to share a quick story with you. I have permission to do so about a client that I worked with. And so as we talk about, and we're going to begin to talk about utilizing resources. So I'll share this story. So I've worked with a client who is now earning annually over $2 million. And so let me share with you her backstory because she didn't wake up making $2 million, okay? And as I said, I have permission to share her story. After graduating from college, while working for a Fortune 500 company in a professional position, she noticed that the organization wasn't meeting the needs of small and mid-sized businesses. In fact, they were turning these businesses down. So after observing this for years and building strong working relationships, trust, knowledge, and skills, she approached the senior leaders and pitched how, with the help of the organization, she could meet the needs of small and mid-sized businesses. The pitch resulted in her receiving startup and working capital from this organization to establish her own business. And she's been in business now for over 10 years. So you're probably asking, why would an organization help an individual to establish her company? Well, this organization wanted to present themselves as an organization of goodwill. They wanted bragging rights. They wanted to demonstrate their commitment to the community, to women, and to diversity. Since that time, she has received numerous industry certifications and have utilized every resource that's available to her, to include SBA and being certified with WBEC. She helped herself by paying attention to companies' pain points and challenges. And she learned and she asked questions. She built trust. And most of all, she believed in herself. So isn't that a great story? It's just a wonderful, I think, story of an individual who did not just say, oh, one day I'm going to be an entrepreneur. She actually dug in and really, really concentrated on how to be the best. So she kept her job, but she was planful as she was working. So yes, that's the story. And I think what's really valuable is I think what's really valuable to her and to us is that she utilized and still continues to utilize numerous resources that are available to her. And for you as students, these resources are on your campuses. They're in your community, like ASSETS. Okay, we encourage you to attend small business events like the Small Business Expo to really connect and make sure your professors are working hard, especially the ones that are passionate about entrepreneurship. So working them hard means asking questions, going to their office hours, sitting at their door, really asking them to help you, right? There's another resource that years ago I was a part of, and that is the Small Business Development Centers, right? These centers offers entrepreneur assistance with consulting and individualized and customized services. These centers are located on or near college campuses. For instance, I Googled to find what small business center was close to, let's say, Cheyney or Lincoln, and I was notified that one is located at Widener University. So I'm not saying that's the closest, but that's where Small Business Development Center is. And these centers are free, right? It's free, but they're going to help you with building a business plan, to helping you to look at your monthly projections, all of that, your potential monthly projections. So all of that good help is there. Also, your career services office. I used to be director of career services, so I know how valuable the career services office is, but I also know that students don't utilize it enough. Okay, so please, I encourage you to do so, because this is your opportunity to learn what internships can help you in your pursuit of becoming an entrepreneur. It can open your eyes to co-op opportunities, work opportunities, to help you to develop your skills and become a specialized and an expert in your industry. Okay, so there's no shame in asking for help. Okay, others for help. I recently read that sometimes asking for help is just as heroic as giving it. But I want to end by sharing this specific quote from Chris Rock, the comedian Chris Rock. Okay, I always end up breaking down on the highway. When I stood there trying to flag someone down, nobody stopped. We know that feeling, right? But when I pushed my car, other drivers would get out and push with me. If you want help, help yourself. People like to see that. Help yourself, right, in this journey, and the doors will open for you.
I love that, Dr. Pat. Thank you so much. Such a good message to aspiring and interested startup entrepreneurs, or those still in college thinking about pursuing entrepreneurship. All right. At this point, I'll turn things over to Nicole to lead the rest of the presentation amongst her her assets partners. So Nicole, assets, take it away.
Okay, here we are. I did have one question for all the entrepreneurs, if that was okay, really fast. So I heard some people saying, not to leave your jobs or, different things like that. So one part of the question is, do you find that a lot of entrepreneurs keep their jobs? The second part is, when is a good time to decide to leave your job?
I can go first. I started off and left my job, but I made sure I had a contract first. So I got the contract, the tentative back, I would say, and then I was able to leave. I made sure I set my LLC up, got the new business opportunity, and then pulled away. Now, some people who have done the same thing as me, they did continue to have their job and didn't pull away until they knew they had a contract that was good enough to pull away. My first contract they got was something that I could pull away from, so I did pull away from my job and started my business right after I quit my job.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I actually worked for myself for a year, running my business for a year. And then I took on this role here at Assets. So worlds kind of just collided, and it made sense for me to step into this role because it still very much aligns with like business and supporting small business. But I think knowing the right time, I think it all comes back to setting yourself up financially to be able to do that. So like, you don't want to leave your full-time job and like, then all your bills you're behind on your bills and you're not able to like support yourself or your family financially. So I think making sure you're set up financially to do that, and you'll know. I think you know when you get to that point, you'll know when you're ready to leave your full-time job. And sometimes I know a lot of people that are running companies that still work a full-time job for the benefits, because that's another thing to consider. You leave your full-time job, you're also leaving benefits, you're leaving all kinds of things. And so you got to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success.
Definitely. Thank you, Chelsea. Dr. Charday. Dr. Pat, did you want to speak to that as well, or?
Remind me what the question is. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No worries. The two questions were, do you find that a lot of entrepreneurs keep their jobs, and when is a good time to decide to leave?
So yes, I actually do find that a lot of entrepreneurs will have that dual role because of those personal needs like benefits and eating, those kind of needs. And so, so they will sort of slow walk it, if you will. The best time to leave is when you know that your resources is in place, that you have a good plan. That is the best time, and you have to decide that. You have to decide that whether you can, because you're going to limp a little bit. Okay, that's just reality. You're going to limp a little bit, and then the road will be rocky. Okay, it's not always a smooth road. All right, and it is a little scary when you have nothing to catch you when you fall, right? Okay, and you are going to skin your knees a little bit, but so I would definitely encourage anyone to have things in order. At least try to.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pat, for sharing that. I appreciate it. Thank you, ladies, for answering that question for me. I always like to tell entrepreneurs about that or let them know about that, mainly because a lot of them come in hoping that they can let go of their job tomorrow, right? And that's not always the reality. The reality is sometimes you're still working at your job maybe a year or two, even after you start the business. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that, you're working two jobs, right? But you want to keep at it because you're going to move forward. You want to move forward in your job, right? In your in your business, not necessarily your job.
May I add one thing, Nicole, that I forgot?
Sure.
The story that I shared, this young lady utilized her or used her job as a resource. Use the job as a resource. Don't waste any time. Don't throw any opportunity out the door. It is a resource, okay? Resource to acquire that knowledge or skills, to network, right? Because that is, I think, what makes it helps you to be successful. That whole relationship building is key. It is key.
Yes, and to
I have one more thing.
piggyback from
Okay.
that,
Mhm.
one of my old employees is a client. So you can actually have your employees or old employees become an actual client, especially if you create a niche already within that particular industry. You know, sometimes what that company's missing. If they're not ready to implement it in their own company, I say, hey, if you're ready to take your own business out and start that particular niche that's needed for that company and probably other companies, you can always start off with having your first client as your resource and also as your old business or old company you worked for as well.
And I'll add one more thing to that as well. I think run your company for at least 2 to 3 years before you decide to leave your job. That way you can see where the pain points are for your company. We always talk about failing forward. You can learn in those 2 to 3 years, like when are your slow seasons? When is it that your sales are down? When are learning those things so that when that does happen, you do decide to leave your job, you're at least prepared and you know, like this is the time of year when we're slower in sales. This is the time of year when, I don't know, whatever the situation is for your business, but you can't know that unless you actually go through it. So give yourself at least, I would say, 2 to 3 years to fail forward and then decide, okay, I think I'm ready to make take that next step or leap of faith and leave my full-time job.
Perfect. Thank you, Chelsea. And I think we have a question from AG. I saw Site Solutions LLC, but it's changed to AG. AG Cook.
Yes, I'm sorry. I realized, I'm like, they're gonna be like, who is this? What's her name? So I tried to hurry up and change it, but you already saw it. I didn't even realize it was there. But anyway, hello everyone. My name is Ajay Cook.
Ajay.
And I am the owner and founder of Site Solutions. We have a DBA called Done and Done, Chief Get It Done Officer, where we offer all administrative and operational support. I am on this call and I'm listening to everything you're saying. And you guys, I'm just so happy for you guys. I'm going on 2 years of full-time entrepreneurship. And one question that I would like to ask is to get some advice on is how do you have any I guess just words of encouragement because 2 years has been rough, but then two, how would you say you put yourself in front of your client when it came down to marketing and things like that?
I guess I can go first. I will give you some good words of encouragement. I will just say to have faith, like I stated before, definitely have patience, but it's also good to group yourself up with other entrepreneurs that can also talk to you and help you. So I'm a part of WBEC. WBEC is a community full of women who also have their own business. So I think that would be a great, I know I'm plugging WBEC right now, but it would be a great
I'm familiar
organization
with
to
WeBank.
it would be a great organization to be a part of. We do have a lot of opportunities where you can collaborate and talk to other entrepreneurs to help with that and everything. And then what was your second question? Because I think I just missed that.
I was just asking, like, I guess after being an entrepreneur, because I've been one for 2 years, like our company has our MBE certification. We have a lot of stuff, but I think the biggest thing for me now as being the CEO is like, okay, we went through the trenches and we're still in them. And so now I'm like, I've lowballed. I mean, I remember when we first started, prices were super low. Then I went back, rebranded, said, okay, prices need to go up so I can. But then I realized, like, obviously, when them prices went up, all those 27 companies we were taking care of no longer fit because they were companies that, that are no longer in our budget. So anyways, I'm saying all that to say, what advice would you give to be able to get in front of, like, how did you land those bigger contracts, I should say, or though, like, how did you get in front of those clients that were much bigger outside of just like I said, the MBE certification, going through the WeBank, and I mean, I'm a network fanatic. So how would you say that you landed those clients?
So I can say LinkedIn has been my best friend. I did get a lot of clients from LinkedIn, but also I am a part of another organization that is specifically for pharma. So if you can also put yourself in a place where you can participate in a different organization that's specifically for your industry. I'm part of a organization called Diversity Alliance for Science that gives me an opportunity to actually pitch to other pharmaceutical companies. They have opportunities for Black people. It's called Elevate Black. I participate in that so that they give us additional opportunities to gain some additional opportunities from different pharmaceutical companies. It allows me to be in that forefront and also in that platform. So if you can actually find organizations that support your particular industry, I would say definitely make sure you participate in that as well.
I would definitely agree with that, Dr. Sade, too. For your industry is a great way to be referred, to get referrals. Okay, that's an excellent way to get referrals. Also, I'm a member and have been a member of chambers. So I'm in Delaware, in the state of Delaware, and so I'm a member of the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. I am also a member of the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce, and I recently went to the gala for the Black Chamber of Commerce. Okay, so that has been golden, having those relationships, because as Dr. Sade said, you get to pitch on a regular basis to these these individuals, and even if those individuals don't necessarily need your services, they're going to refer. They are going to refer because they know your business, and you have developed relationships with them because you're constantly in front of them attending meetings. So that has been a saving grace for me, because now I don't spend as much time marketing per se, because I get referrals. Okay, and so I would say, yes, network and continue to network, but make sure you're getting into the spaces that really can pay off. Okay, you got to evaluate that. Is this paying off? What am I getting? The other thing too is, in those networking environments, even at the chamber, you can't really come in there hands open. Give me. You've got to give as well. You've got to be willing to refer and to speak to that person's company and to other people. And so it is a give and take. If you come in hands open all the time, that can be a little bit unnerving, and you won't see the movement as much.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Pat and Dr. Sade. And I would even go further to say to build relationship with your potential client. And what I mean by that is interview people, literally ask them, and start with like the open-ended questions instead of like, it being like let them kind of lead with what the problem is, so that can give you a better understanding of who your potential customers are. I think when we think about customer discovery, oftentimes we're like, we want to serve all people. And I'm not saying that this is the way that you're going about it, but really thinking about like what's setting your business apart from what already exists and how to build your potential clients that way. I think interviews, you could do that with surveys as well, and definitely tapping into the resources in your community. Highly recommend becoming a member at your local chamber. But yeah, I'm in agreement with everything Dr. Sade and Dr. Pat said, but I wanted to add to really build that customer relationship as well.
Thank you.
That's so perfect. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ajay. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you.
I hope that was helpful for you, Ajay, and just thinking through like next step as far as marketing and different things like that. all of that was definitely great. And Maxine, I see your question here. And so what I'm going to do is start interviewing the CDFI in our assets microloan person here. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, so I'm not going to put them out there. But we'll be able to answer your question as soon as they are done speaking. Is that okay, Maxine?
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, great. So I'm going to start off with Denzel and Oscar. Oscar, if you can just introduce yourself, 30 seconds or less. And I know you're not a part of the assets team, but you're here in Lancaster. So 30 seconds or less, what is it that you do at CDFI and what do you offer?
Yeah, thank you for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Oscar Roscoe. I'm a senior community lender at Community First Fund. What we do is we lend out to, primarily our mission is to focus on minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, people of color, and mainly focus on those communities that deserve it or need it, which is Lancaster, Reading, York, and Philadelphia. And I think that was 30 seconds, right? So,
yes,
there you go.
I think so. All right, Denzel, your turn. Go.
I'm Denzel. I'm the Director of Community Lending here at Assets. Our target market is women and BIPOC-owned businesses. My particular department, we focus on the lending aspect. So I don't really take part in any of the training outside of technical assistance that we provide to businesses.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was great and perfect. All right, so one more question before we go into all the nitty gritty. I have some pretty great and hard questions for you. So if you could eat anywhere in Lancaster, where would you eat? What's your favorite place to eat here in Lancaster? Yes.
You can start with the hardest one.
Yes. Is that a hard one?
Yeah, there's a lot of good food.
There's a lot of good food. So yeah, upstairs with a 2-on-1.
Oh yeah, 2-on-1 is good. Yeah,
2-on-1, that's pretty good. So
I'd probably go with the Urban Farmhouse. It's a cheesecake shop on Queen Street. Delicious cheesecake.
So you hear that here, guys.
Wait, you're talking about cheesesteaks in Lancaster? Excuse me?
Cheesecake.
Oh,
Cheesecake.
okay.
Cheesesteaks here too.
I was about to bring Solomon on, who is also in Mount Airy, to get like some Philly Lancaster cheesesteak or going on in the middle of our webinar. Sorry.
All right, Oscar.
Bias, I guess one of my clients, a Rendezvous.
Okay.
They're gonna open up soon, so
okay.
It's pizza shop. So they were in Lancaster for a long time, and now they're gonna reopen it. Same with it, keep it within the family, the recipes and everything. So.
Oh wow! So you guys heard it here. You know where to come to in Lancaster when you come over this way.
That's such a cop out.
So my next question would be, why are you passionate about offering the type of resources that you offer to the community? You said you were biased about, Rendezvous. It seems like you're passionate about what you do. Why is that?
I'm going first? Yeah, you can go. All right. So in the CDFI space, I'm what's known as a recovering banker. Thank him for that. He actually gave my first job in banking. But it got to a point in banking where I'm dealing with these businesses and these people, and I'm handing out these decline letters left and right to people who clearly need the help, and they need capital, they need education, they don't have the knowledge to succeed, and I'm not in a position to help them. And I pretty much got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being the bad guy delivering this news to somebody. They need it. Like, their plan makes sense. From a numerical standpoint, I can understand how this would work, but at a standard bank, at a commercial bank, I don't have the freedom to help this person. So the opportunity for Assets actually came up once again, actually thanks to him. He put me in contact with Assets. Met with them, spoke with them, everything seemed to just align, and that's how I ended up here.
Voila. And we actually started at the same time, which is pretty exciting. So yeah.
Same day, unfortunately.
Yes. All right, so Oscar, take it away. Why are you passionate about what you're doing for the
Yeah, I'll
community?
piggyback off of Denzel. I mean, I grew up in Lancaster, been in the area about 30 plus years. And just working in the retail space. I've been in banking 20 years in retail, and it got old to tell those individuals that wanted to grow and start a business, say, no, we can't do it, because again, the guidelines in banking is the credit score is below this, or if it's a startup, we can't help you. So, just seeing what Community First One was doing in the community, lending out to, businesses that are starting up, and also to businesses that, that the individuals grew up in Lancaster, individuals that, look like me, minority owned or even women owned businesses. So I jumped ship to just do that and just make change and to serve as a purpose. So
I love it. Great. We're all on the same boat. Like we all want to be a part of impact and making change here. So what type of loans are available to the people that you're saying don't have access to the same type of capital that they would at a standard bank? What type of loans are available to them through you?
the first one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously we do the SBA, but at the same time, we have other type of fundings, sources. So that's where we could get creative, whether it's, a credit score that's low or just, collateral issues. We can get creative, with our lending. Obviously, we do take the risk, but we don't want to, overtake them risk that, we put a customer in a risk that they can't pay for it, or else we can't get repayment. So we're still conservative in that sense, but at the same time, we do want to, invest in our community. So we have multiple types of sources.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
So at Assets, we actually, I would say our most, gosh, I don't know how to word this. Our product that gives us the most flexibility in our mission to help people would be our small business loan. It has no credit score requirement. So if I pull somebody's credit and they have a 500 credit score, it doesn't matter. What we're looking at is we're looking at the items on that credit. We're looking at their ability to cash flow the loan. And I'm able to lend to them up to $10,000. So, whether it's somebody that has no credit, they have bad credit because they just came through with a divorce, or, maybe you made a couple of mistakes. You got a cell phone bill in there or something from years ago that you just never cleared up. We're able to work around things like that in order to help somebody start or provide some additional cash flow to their business.
Okay. Great. So I come to you with this credit score of 500 or below, right? And I just want to open a business. Is that how it goes? Or is there anything else that you need from me? Like, what are some of the things that you would need from me in order to open, in order to gain capital from you? $10,000.
I mean,
Let me take this one first.
yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, for starters, if it's you, it's an automatic decline. Sorry. The documentation that we get is going to be standard compared to what you would have to get through a bank. So we're going to be looking at, last 2 years of tax returns, personal and business if applicable. If your business is a startup, I'm going to need a business plan. I'm going to have to double check your market research to make sure these numbers actually make sense. I need to verify you own the business. So your SS4 operating agreement, depending on how the business is set up. Those sorts of things, profit and loss. It's all going to be from a finance verification standpoint, it's going to be the exact same as a bank, because there's only so many ways to verify income from a way that not only ensures we're doing the best for them, but we're covering ourselves to make sure that when the SBA or CDFI comes knocking and says, hey, we need to review the methods you're using, that we're using reasonable methods.
Okay. Perfect.
Pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's great to know. So as long as I come to you and I have a business plan or and I know my numbers and different things like that. So that means I probably should connect with like accounting or take a entrepreneur training plug. That's a plug for everyone right there. Take up some entrepreneur training and finance, just so I make sure that I have all my I's dotted and my T's crossed, correct? Yeah, I just can't come in the door and say, hey, I want a loan. And this is what, tell you about my business. I have to actually have a plan.
Okay. I was just gonna say, we offer technical assistance, so if you are that individual that says, hey, I want a loan, what do I need to do to apply? I don't have anything, we go step by step,
Okay.
help you create a business plan. I'm a part of a school mentor, I am actually a school mentor.
Oh.
So I'm able to help my customers and clients to come up with a business plan, come up with tools to help them with projections. Help them guide them to accountants. So we have COIs, for example, even templates,
Okay.
blank templates that they can fill out, help them out with, and also help them register. So we offer that technical assistance to those clients that just come up the street and just say, I want to start up an account, I want a business. So
That's great.
So we're not quite as hands-on into the mentorship space, but we do provide technical assistance. So say, for example, well, not you, because if it's you, it's a decline. Say somebody just comes to me and they're like, hey, I have a business and I want a loan. I'll go, okay, do you have this stuff? Here's an outline of what you'll need. We don't just turn them away and go, you came to me completely unprepared, and send them on their way. That kind of defeats the purpose of what we're here to do.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll say, hey, I need your SS4, your business needs to be registered. I need an operating agreement or articles of incorporation. I need your, if I'm using their current income, let me get your last 2 pay stubs. So we'll walk them through what they need if they come to us unprepared. But say it's somebody that's like, I don't have a business plan. Here are some resources for you to do a business plan. I'm not going to be the one sitting down doing that, because we don't go too far to the mentorship space.
Okay.
And like I'll direct people to, LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer for their articles of incorporation and stuff like that.
Okay.
But we don't hands-on, just due to staffing and limitations there, we don't provide that
Mentorship.
deep dive.
So we can connect them to Oscar if we need to.
Yeah. We'll send them
All right. All right. So one more question. And this question is from Maxine, in 30 seconds, or less. Are there questions? I know I pretty much am good with like saying time. So are there organizations that provide startup grants? If I am a lawn business, but I need a new vehicle or truck and a couple of lawn tools, is there assistance out there to help me with the costs? So
I'm assuming by lawn business you mean landscaping?
probably.
yeah, landscaping.
Okay. So organizations that provide startup grants, that's not really a space that we operate in.
Okay.
So we don't provide standalone grants. I know during COVID, we partnered with the city to help them disperse their COVID-19 grant funds, but that's not something that Assets does as a standalone thing. We will help supplement the county in order to further our mission, but we don't provide standalone grants. So I don't really have that info because we don't deal in grants, at least not the grants that go directly to a small business owner. There probably are grants out there for startups.
Okay.
But that would be information that I would have. As far as the loan goes toward that startup, absolutely. So if you're looking to start a landscaping company and you come to me with a business plan, I have your taxes for to verify the financials, see if it's going to cash flow. Yeah, as long as the cash flows and the business plan is solid, yeah, we could potentially do that.
Okay.
Startup costs to a landscaping company aren't going to be that huge, especially if you're starting by yourself. You can get a riding mower for $2-3 grand. You might need a truck and a trailer. Trailer costs you maybe $2-3 grand. They're sitting at $6 grand. I'm assuming you have the car already. So for that particular situation, we could probably finance that startup.
Okay.
It's just going to depend on now, say somebody comes to us and they're like, I want to start up a restaurant. You're going to need way more than 10 grand, which is what my small business loan would apply for. So I'm going to have to see in your business plan that you have other sources of funding aside from us. Otherwise, it's not going to look like a feasible launch. And we'd say, hey, unfortunately, we have to see how this is going to get paid back. How can you afford this? Because if we give somebody a loan they can't afford, we've done more than a disservice. We've put them in the hole. Yeah. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people change their economic situation and provide more diversity in the business space. And if we're giving out bad loans, you're ruining somebody's livelihood.
Definitely. Definitely.
That was more than 30 seconds.
Definitely. Oscar, I thought about it, but I didn't say anything.
So I know oftentimes we do offer grants. Right now we're not offering grants. Just thinking off of Denzel, there are, given the space that we're in, we do offer the small business loans. I know SBA is a good resource to check for grants. Every now and then.
And we are,
just
sorry to
check.
interrupt, we are going to hear from Solomon with his SBA presentation after this.
All right,
So
so I
we'll
won't
get
take that
through
from
all
you.
of that stuff in a minute. Yeah.
All right, so just reference Solomon's presentation.
Yeah, we're going to talk. I was going to say, I'm going to have to jump in on that. The grants are, it's amazing how much we get that question, is there any free money? Are there any grants available? And generally speaking, that's not the case. There are some exceptions in terms of, the federal portal of grants.gov, where nonprofits do pursue grants, but you're going to be held to perform, right? That's really like a contract. The other side is the Small Business Innovation Research grants. But again, usually that's technology is involved in that. There's research. If you're trying to issue maybe some software, there could be some potential funding available. But we all cringe every time we hear that word grants, because generally speaking, you're relying on your savings and family and friends. There's very little free money available, unless we have another pandemic, and then maybe a little bit of money. But anyway, just wanted to mention that. Sorry.
Well, that's okay, Solomon, because you are next for
Okay.
us. So
Keep it going.
it's perfect that you chimed in there. So I want to welcome Solomon. He is I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because that would be better. How about that?
That's great. No, I've been enjoying myself. I've heard a lot of great conversation, and I want to personally say thank you to all the entrepreneurs out there. I work for the Small Business Administration. It was created in 1953 for individuals like yourself, because at that time, the Eisenhower administration, and I wasn't alive during that time, but the idea is that we needed an organization that would help Americans start and grow businesses. That is the mission of the SBA. That is my mission. So I take it personally. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in commercial lending, banking, corporate finance, and now working for the government, 25 plus years in finance. And so from my perspective, I still believe passionately that entrepreneurship is absolutely foundational to what it is to be American, what it is to pursue the American dream. And for many of us, our dreams are tied up in what we're pursuing entrepreneurially. So I guess, Nicole, I do have some PowerPoints that I was going to try to blaze through, just as a reminder of some of the information and some of the services that we provide, if that's okay. And then I'll try to leave a little time left for questions. So what I'm going to do is just share my screen, and you let me know if you see my slides. Does everyone see an SBA slide? Let's see.
Yes, we do. I see it.
Okay, Blue. Okay, so my contact information is there. I'll introduce myself. So my name is Solomon Wheeler. I'm the SBA's Harrisburg branch manager. I cover about 14 counties in central Pennsylvania. I am part of the Eastern Pennsylvania district. We are one of about 68 districts across the country. As I mentioned, my background really has been in banking and finance, corporate finance, economic development. I've worked for nonprofits before, and I've been an entrepreneur. My wife and I had a travel service many, many moons ago, back in the 90s, in fact. And we discovered, we were making money taking affinity groups around, and we had a 25 and 30 passenger vehicle. And we discovered that the industry was changing. This is when the internet was really starting to develop some muscle. And we saw that travel services, travel agents were going to be put out of business. So we found that the risk reward just wasn't there. We had to carry probably $5-6 million of insurance for every 16 seats. So one accident is enough to put you out of business. And so we're like, wow, that's just a little bit too much risk for us. So somebody better go out and get a job. And so I did that and worked for Coke for a while. Now I'm with the federal government, but I appreciate what it is to sweat a payroll. I know what that feels like, and that is not fun. But, the point here is that, the SBA essentially has programs and services that hopefully make navigating this journey of starting a business easier. as I mentioned before, my mission is to help Americans start and grow businesses. But what we do is, help Americans to start, grow, expand, and recover. You may have heard, the SBA is 3 C's and a D. That's 3 C's and a D. Counseling, capital, contracting, and the D stands for disaster loans. So hopefully you never need it. But the point is that those are the areas that we operate in. In terms of counseling, we're partnering with all the organizations we've been talking about, whether it's SCORE, small business development centers, women's business centers, and even the Veterans Business Outreach Centers. We have 1,400 partners nationwide. There's always, hopefully, an opportunity for you to connect with them with SBA.gov. I think I saw it put in the chat a little bit earlier, but the point is that as an agency, SBA is sprinkling money and sending money to all these organizations. The first one up is SCORE, which again is a mentor organization, probably 13,000 seasoned business professionals that essentially provide mentorship and advice and free online workshops. I always tell individuals that, hey, if you're starting a business, just connect with someone that can say they've been there and done that, right? So I know SCORE's been criticized as being, grumpy old guys with lots of experience, and sometimes they can tell you, oh, that's a terrible idea. What do you think you're doing? But on the other side, you need those seasoned individuals to be able to say, let's sit down, have a cup of coffee, and talk about your business. So that's, and SCORE has about 8, 9+ chapters that are in the Pennsylvania region that are available to you. The small business development centers are kind of 1 or 2 steps up on the rung in terms of technical assistance. From my perspective, they are centers in which they will provide free business consulting, low-cost training. They are usually co-located at universities. So the federal government's providing about 1/3 of their budget. The state is providing about 1/3 of the budget, and the university provides about 1/3. But they're located at universities because that's where all the smart folks are, for the most part, in terms of thinking about business models and developing new technology. And oh, by the way, they have specific expertise. So there are 15 centers in the state of Pennsylvania, with the lead center at Kutztown University. And, if someone wants to build a prototype, those centers are typically going to connect them with Bucknell. Why Bucknell University? Because it has a phenomenal engineering school. If someone has a question about digital services or digital technologies, they might get connected with the University of Pittsburgh Small Business Development Center, because they focus on digital services and digital technology. So the idea is that there's a whole ecosystem out there that's available to you to provide phenomenal work. And like I said, oh, by the way, most of it is free or very, very low cost. Of course, women's business centers, and thanks to our host for connecting everyone. We appreciate everything that you do, and again, it's really comprehensive training and counseling, business advice, but certainly tailored specifically to the target audience of women. And you can see the women's business centers that are available. So, from our perspective, from an SBA perspective, these organizations are performing a critical task. And then finally, the Veterans Business Outreach Centers. We want to make sure that our veterans and transitioning active duty have opportunities, right, to be successful. So these VBOCs, or Veterans Business Outreach Centers, are regionally located. They provide many of the similar things that SBDCs do and women's business centers do: counseling and transition assistance, training and advice, and resource referrals. So the one that covers our area is out of the University of Maryland. That's Steve Colello, that's the director there. And so they are heavily focused on, again, transitioning active duty individuals that have been in the service for 10 or 15 years and then find themselves say, okay, now I've got to go back to civilian life. What's that going to be like? Do I want to work for someone, or do I want to start my own business? And I'm also involved in a program called Boots to Business, in which we're teaching a 2-day, it's a 2-day boot camp where we teach entrepreneurship 101 and 102. So we give it to them all in the course of about 16 hours, and many of them are very appreciative. And then if they want to find additional support or resources, they can connect with a VBOC. And the cool thing about the VBOCs, they also provide career support, career counseling if they want to continue to work. So military veterans make great entrepreneurs because they can get up early, they can be there on time, and they know what work looks like, right? So we love what the role that the VBOC plays. In terms of just learning, there's lots of information out there to learn. SBA has a learning center. Hopefully you can see all of that. But whether you're planning, launching, managing, all of the functional areas of marketing and operations are available to you. So I would encourage anyone that's interested, whether you're an existing business, whether you're a student, or if you're just simply, or you're thinking about starting a business, you can sit and grab yourself a good, strong cup of coffee and go through all these kind of self-directed study modules and learn a lot about some of the SBA programs and just learn about business topics in general. This program is called Thrive. Basically, it used to be called SBA's Emerging Leaders Program, but I guess the way I'd sum it up is it's an educational opportunity. It really is like a street level MBA. It's an intense 6-month course, so it's like taking a course at night. 100 hours of training. You're working with experienced professionals, but you're covering all of the functional areas, and you're really asking yourself as an owner, how do I take my business from 300 or 400,000 and how do I get to 1 million? Because that's the key question, right? How do I scale the business up so that I can, number one, build wealth for myself, create opportunities in terms of jobs, and hopefully insulate my business from failure? Because we know that, and we've seen this throughout the pandemic, businesses that are growing insulate themselves from downturns in the economy. The economy will go through peaks and valleys. And the only way, in my opinion, this is Solomon's opinion, the only way to really insulate yourself and to prevent yourself from failing is to continually strive toward growing. So those are critical questions. And it includes, self-assessments. How do I hire? And again, I'm speaking in the voice of an owner or principal. How do I hire to my weaknesses? Because that's something that's critically important, right? What do I not do so well? And how do I go out and find someone that can do that? So Thrive is a phenomenal program. We're in the middle of that program. I think my colleague is on, Kim Stout. I don't know if you want to give a shout out, Kim, but she runs the program. She does an incredible job. And it'd be interesting to know. I think that she'll be looking for new people at the end of the year or in the first quarter, but there'll be an opportunity. Hey, Kim, I see you there.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, no, we've been running the program since 2008. Typically, I recruit February, March, and April, and we get started in the beginning of July. So it is a 6-month program. It's pretty intensive. We're halfway through. But the thing to note is we have 2 cohorts this year. We used to just have one for the King of Prussia Philly area. We actually have a Central Pennsylvania cohort as well because of the demand. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that going the next year as well.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, in terms of just local resources, we have a landing site in which we have events, a combination of online and some of them are in person, but the point is that you can see what upcoming events there are with our particular district, Eastern Pennsylvania district. News and updates are available, and we even tweet. I guess we don't call it Twitter anymore, on X, but the point is you can stay connected. And we talked about plugging into this entrepreneurial ecosystem. This is one way in which you can do it. So, again, I talked about what the SBA does, 3 C's and a D. One of the C's, that last C, is contracting. So, the compelling question is, you have one of the world's largest, if not the world's largest customer, about 100 miles to the south in DC. Why wouldn't you want to figure out as a small business how to sell a product or service to that large customer? To put it in context, we're spending, and when I say we, that means the federal government, we're spending about $500 billion every year on goods and services. That's 500 billion with a B. That means that about 100 billion or 23% is set aside for small businesses. If you can get 1/10 of 1% of that, that could be a significant contract. That might be a $600,000 or $700,000 or $800,000 contract for the individual small business. So regardless of what you do, I would say, are there opportunities for you to sell to the federal government? And there's lots of resources available to you on sba.gov/ contracting. Some of the certifications, again, many of you may be aware of these already, but these are some of the primary ones. The 8A Business Development Program is a 9-year business development program that targets minorities. Right now, applications are on hold, but I would say that that's a great opportunity for individuals that want to grow. There are mentor protege program that's connected with that. Historically underutilized business zones. These are essentially areas in which there's high unemployment and high poverty. And so the federal government's trying to incentivize small businesses to locate and hire in those areas. So if you do that, then you'll have a bit of a competitive advantage when you're going for contracts. Of course, the woman-owned small business programs, many of you know about these, but in NAICS codes in which that we have determined that women are historically underrepresented, there are specific industries in which you can get a WOSB certification, and it's going to give you an opportunity for a set-aside opportunity for a competitive advantage. Service-disabled veteran-owned small business program, same concept. If you're 51% owned by a service-disabled veteran, then you're going to get a preference in terms of going after contracts with the federal government if you're service disabled. So these are all important certifications, and you need to be aware of those. And again, we can connect you with the folks, including the technical assistance providers here, if you want to learn more about those certifications. The surety bonding program really is a kind of a program that protects project owners if they're in terms of construction. These are bonds that are placed so that if a construction company fails, if his labor or her labor fails to perform, there's protection. So it really is kind of insurance program. Many small businesses have trouble going out and getting bonding in the open market. So the SBA provides guarantees to the surety bond agents, and that in turn makes it easier for them to say yes. So that's something that you should be aware of, especially if you're in construction. In terms of international opportunities, I would say, and I've heard this mentioned, in the conversation with all the entrepreneurs, getting outside your comfort zone is really where the magic happens. Looking internationally is something that we are continuing to stress with small businesses. I know we stressed it more even when under the Obama administration, but the idea is that we have got to get our domestic businesses out of the mindset of having to sell to customers that they see in front of them. In other words, your next customer may not be walking down the street, right? Your next customer may not be over the next state over. You need to know if you have a customer in Japan. You need to know if you have a customer in Brazil or South Africa. And the only way that you're going to do that is begin to opening up this idea of selling to the world. Because, and you can see the stats there, 2/3 of the world's purchasing power is in foreign countries. 96% of consumers live outside the US. 300 million people, 320 million people in the US. Oh, by the way, India has 300 million children. Think about that for a moment. 300 million children in India. So is Disney thinking about India? Absolutely. Absolutely. So the point is that we've got to think globally. We've got to, move past kind of having blinders on with the way that we manage our business. Pennsylvania is well known for food processing. They're well known for having people that know how to make things, that know how to manufacture. I have received calls from Finland, from Sweden, saying that they want to partner with businesses because we know that folks here know how to manufacture. They know how to make know how to construct mechanical devices. I got a call from a company from Sweden that these were dollies that would move heavy equipment around. And so if you could imagine putting an engine or putting a diesel motor on a heavy item on a shop floor, how do you move that around? You would use a dolly with wheels to push it around. And so there's a company out of Sweden that actually makes these dollies, and they were looking for a partner in PA. I connected them with our folks over at the RENs, the Regional Export Networks, and they were able to develop a relationship. So enough said about that, but just wanted to mention that. Think globally. In terms of our loan programs, essentially, the flagship programs are 7A, SBA Express, and 504. Those programs certainly are available, and they do offer competitive terms, lower down payments, flexible overhead requirements in counseling and education, and that's across micro lenders and banks. Of course, to the point that this point was made, I believe Denzel made the point, was that, it is irresponsible, right, to tell a small business to take a loan if in fact they're not ready to do it, if in fact they don't have the cash flow to pay that loan back. I mean, if you can grow organically, that's what you'd want to do. I'm agnostic about the SBA program. I believe it can help, but I certainly would never want a small business to take on any debt if they're not ready for that. So certainly traditional loans are great if you're in a position to utilize them, but in the end, you really want to be growing your business organically. You want to be getting investment dollars, and there's a cost benefit to that, but you want to be growing your business without necessarily having to take on debt. There is a role for debt, but we find that it can be crippling if you don't understand all the downsides and the negative consequences of the cash flow drain. Someone told me that taking debt and really the cash flow strain is like taking blood from a sick patient. It doesn't help when you have that type of structure. So you've got to really be careful. But anyway, the point here is that there are loans that are available. 7A program is widely used. It's very flexible. You can use it from starting or purchasing a small business, purchasing land or real estate, purchasing inventory. The flexibility is there, and we continue to see the rules around the SBA 7A program, SBA Express, and even the 504. Those rules are being relaxed. And the limits, 7A is still 5 million, SBA Express up to 500,000, and I believe 504 is around 5.5 million maximum. But plenty of room for small businesses to grow utilizing those programs if it makes sense for them. Lender match is really just, you've heard this saying, when banks compete, you win. It's a way in which you can basically put basic profile information into a website and determine whether or not there are any banks interested in your project. So just wanted to mention that Lender Match is the site in which, again, you can just kind of build a basic profile and get feedback from banks in terms of a specific deal. And then finally, the D, right? I said 3 C's in a D: counseling, capital, contracting, and then the D is disaster assistance in the event of a federally declared disaster. There are loans that are available to not only small businesses, but to individuals. So, think natural disasters. In Pennsylvania, it's typically flooding. Fortunately, we don't get hurricanes or tornadoes too frequently. We've gotten them before, but not too frequently. But the idea is that, if your home is damaged, for physical recovery, I believe it's up to 200,000 is available for repairing physical damage, up to 40,000 for personal property, and up to 2 million for your business. So the point is that there's help available. And I should say, this is the only time in which the SBA acts as a direct lender. I did some work with Irma and Maria a couple of years ago, and I believe it was 17 in Florida and in St. Thomas, and had an opportunity to learn how the programs work firsthand. So everything from real estate, personal property, inventory, machinery and equipment, and economic injury. These are all areas in which you could potentially qualify for relief. Economic injury would be, for example, if your revenue was dramatically impacted by your customers who are all along the coastline and they were wiped out or damaged by a hurricane. The individual bakery that provides the bread to those customers on the coastline is still intact, but their economic or their revenue stream was dramatically impacted by customers that were suffering. So there's potential help available as a result. And here's just some more contact information. We're easy to find. It's easy to find, like Dion says. That's a prime reference, prime. But anyway, my email, solomon.wheeler@sba.com, .gov. Can't say .com, .gov. I'm rushing too much. Please, take a look. We're on social media. And then there is some feedback survey that's available, and that'll be included in the slides that we send out. And then I'll leave you with, I think I had some words of wisdom. I think that was one of the questions. What were some things that we would recommend? And, certainly if there's, any young people on the line in terms of, kind of starting out, these are the things that I would recommend. And that's reading and studying credible sources. And that's everything from media. In terms of books, and I heard it mentioned earlier, I love Outliers. Anything that Malcolm Gladwell writes, I think is great for entrepreneurs. And the other one that I mentioned is Invisible Capital. And this really, Chris is written by Chris Rabb. Chris Rabb is actually a rep in the Philadelphia region, but Invisible Capital tries to get at all these other unseen social relationships that help a business be successful. We know that, you can be capable, you can be competent, but certainly as a person of color, sometimes there are challenges, real barriers that you deal with. And certainly from a gender standpoint, you can deal with some of these same challenges. So the idea is to understand where those invisible links are, understanding what social circles you're trying to reconnect with. And I highly recommend reading Chris's book, Invisible Capital. Embracing excellent and high standards. And many of you certainly already do that. And if there are any students on the line, certainly I would say that's what you want to do. Many of you have heard the 10,000 hours. How do you become an expert? Work for, 4 to 6 years in something, and that's your passion. And certainly that's something that will, you'll develop that. And then we talked about niches, and I'm hearing more about this idea of the entrepreneur super niche, right? Instead of being appealing to a mass market, you're going deep in a very specific area. And, I just had health and wellness as an example. Mushroom infused coffee. I never had it. I'd like to try it. I like coffee. But the point is that, kombucha and some of these other things are very, very focused on individuals with specific appetites, right? So the super niche is something that you'll probably hear more about because we're hearing more about it. And it's better to be excellent, right, at one or two things rather than try to please everyone. And then finally, and I've been saying this to my kids, get your passport now. My kids went to HBCUs. My son went to Florida A&M. My daughter went to Xavier, and they both love to travel. And to the point where I've been to, and I heard Nicole talking about Mozambique, there's all kinds of projects going on in Africa. I just went to Ghana in May, and my son's going back. He's a musician and he's into public relations, but he wants to live over there, and he's 24 years old. And I can think back when I was 24, I said, man, I don't know if I had the courage to do it, but I find that when you open up your mind, open up travel, it really is an entrepreneurial skill set, because we know that diversity is critical. We know that diversity of thought is critical, and being closed-minded, right, is not good for business. We know this, right? And so the point is that you've got to learn and meet other people so that you can really be focused on the next rising trend. And you can really only do that by getting outside of your comfort zone. So I think that's all I have. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Solomon. Yes, getting your passport and expanding your worldview is definitely top of my list of things to do as a business, as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So are there any questions? I guess I know.
Yeah, we're going to open it up to open forum.
Okay.
Anyone feel free to unmute and ask any questions, especially of these financial presenters, the Oscar and Denzel from ASSETS and the Community First Fund, and then Solomon from the SBA. And we'll just stay on for a few minutes. I know we've gone a little bit over, so I don't want to take any of my co-hosts' time. But yeah, just ask away. The floor is everyone's now.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, yay, you can hear me. My name is Kathia. Please feel free to call me Kat. I am reaching out this afternoon because I have an amazing opportunity that's being presented to me. My question is more so for crowdfunding. As far I'm not able to get the business financing that I want. I have my Duns and Bradstreet account, but I have no business credit. It's very low. I have a few Net 30 accounts, But even, everything that I'm doing right now to build my business credit is coming out of my personal finance. So I'm spending money to build the credit, but it's not, building as quickly as I needed to in order to qualify for certain funding. So I guess really, what would you suggest as far as either creating a new financing vehicle or another source of income other than taking on a second job? Don't all speak up too soon.
Yes.
Hello, Denzel from Assets. So you're looking, is the business currently active?
One is, but the other one, it was so big. I don't want to give up on it because it is actually my passion. But the second LLC that I started, I'm using to build finance momentum in order to build my adult daycare.
Okay. So for the business that's active, how much capital do you need?
I need help on those projections. I'm not good with e-commerce, and I will be honest with that. At this point, I'm writing a book, and I'm being told that I'm already underselling the book. I've also been tasked to put on a TEDx conference. So I'm having these things coming to me to generate income and exposure, but I'm not sure what I'm doing or not doing to capitalize on these things by myself. Like, I don't have a team, I don't have a mentor. It's just me.
Okay. So you have a book, you have an active business, then you have another business that you're trying to launch?
Yes.
So you would probably either have to expand your team or you would have to cut something off. Otherwise, you'll probably just work yourself into an early grave, because launching a business is tough enough as is. Sustaining a business is also tough as is. And then writing, marketing, publishing a book is also very tough as is. I mean, you have people that do each one of those things as a full-time career, and you're just one person.
Right. And Kat, have
Exactly.
you joined? And Kat, have you joined any of the resource organizations? Like,
Yes, SCORE, Mighty Network, WBEC,
okay. So,
WSBA,
I mean, the one thing that I
Women's
would,
Commerce.
yeah, it's working capital, it's friends and family. I mean, that's really that's all the money that you need in the beginning stages to kind of feed the expenses, because that's the challenge that so many small businesses are faced with. Can you spend for 3 to 5 months without any results? And so I would also, I mean, the other thing that I would say is just revisit your business model. What exactly are you trying to do? And you may want to think about simplifying, because it is a challenge to try to do everything well. But if you revisit your business model, you may say, well, maybe there's another niche that you hadn't thought about, rather than simply being reactive, right? And trying to respond to opportunities, which are great. But I would say that I would sit down with some of our resource providers and really try to hammer out and say, where is the model, and what's the model for the industry? And are there any other businesses that you can point to as an example of what you're doing? Can you point to any other entrepreneur and say, oh, I want to be like this, depending on, the industry? So that would be my kind of advice to you.
Yeah.
I
Kat, and
definitely appreciate it.
like Liz put in the chat here, definitely reach out to me. Liz plugged in my email there, and I can get you connected with our business counselor here at WBEC-East to maybe set up at least like a touching point conversation with her. She is just a wealth of experience and information, so we would love to get you connected with her.
Definitely. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I will be honest, the director of the Department of Aging had agreed to be my mentor, but he was not used to a mentorship, even though he set up multiple adult daycares. And I'm like, well, I've never done a mentorship, and I don't want to waste anyone's time. I want to I know I've put the time into my business plan. I've gone through the Dream Builder programs. I just don't know what I don't know in order to move forward. So I would love to be able to connect with you guys. And thank you everyone for the advice.
Yeah, happy to help. All right, I think we had Maxine with her hand raised. Maxine, are you still on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. This is Maxine Cook. Sorry, my name is not there. So I had a question in the chat, and I was just curious for anyone who might have some knowledge or experience or insight. If anyone has an opinion of the need for customer service consulting.
Could you elaborate some more on that? Can you elaborate some more on that? What do you mean by customer service consulting, like specific industry?
So I have for many years have always been critiquing many folks without their knowledge of their lack of customer service skills. I'm constantly doing it, always thinking of a way that people can present themselves in a better way. And mostly it's in businesses. So I just wondered if anyone has come across the need for or sees the need for something like that, and if you just had an opinion about it.
I mean, I think as far as consulting goes, if you have a good enough elevator pitch and you work out your business plan and your business model and your marketing idea, there is always going to be a need for gap filling where consultants come in, right? So especially I'm thinking off the top of my head, you could work with other fellow startup businesses to be their customer service, like training development portion. I think that's like just going to be all about how you kind of sell yourself as the consultant. Does that make sense, Assets people?
Makes sense.
Good.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It just has to be just well thought out, okay, so that it's more of a business and not just a service. And unless you just want it to be a service, that might be what you want. But excuse me, but if you really want a business, to create a business around that, it just has to think it through, create that business plan, really think about who you are pursuing as your target market. Those kind of critical questions that will help to establish a business.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly.
Of course. All right. If we don't have any other questions, we can wrap up. I know we've gone well over our 5:30 deadline.
Denzel has something.
Denzel, do you have a question?
30 seconds. 30 seconds or less.
I got it. 30 seconds. It's not a question. I actually just wanted to let the entrepreneurs in the meeting know, Assets does have a new product called the ROC loan. It's a loan grant hybrid, max of $10,000 with a 3-year term at 1%. That is also accompanied by a 30% grant match. So if you are an existing business that started prior to 2023, have made it through COVID, and you're located in one of the counties we're authorized to serve, we may be able to help you with some capital needs. That's all.
That is an amazing program. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah.
Of course.
Very important 30 seconds there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thanks again to the team at Assets with Nicole, Denzel, and Oscar. Thank you so much to our entrepreneurs, Dr. Charday, Dr. Pat, and Chelsea. And thanks once again to Solomon Wheeler, our SBA rep, for co-hosting this wonderful webinar for all of us.
Yes. This has been a great time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a good rest of your night.
Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks for sharing,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Pat. All right. Have a good evening, y'all.
Good night,
Have a great
loves.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.